Welcome to Kitchen Table Conversations, a series of short and shareable conversation starters for those of us who have or love and support people with a complicated and beautiful brain. Here's your host, Angela Geddes.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Kitchen Table Conversations. I'm your host, Angela, and thanks once again for tuning in today. Boy, today and the last couple of days actually have been really inspirational. I guess I could backtrack a little bit that I've been involved personally in quite a number of conferences aimed to raise awareness and build system capacity for people with complicated and beautiful brains. And right now we're smack in the middle, I guess we're towards the tail end of the 5th annual London and Region FASD virtual conference. And this conference is focused on neurodiversity throughout development, from misperceptions to understanding. And I think that most of you who've been tuning into this podcast realize that that's the whole purpose of Kitchen Table Conversations, is to help with the misunderstandings, the misdiagnosis, the misperceptions, and really trying to bring home conversations that are going to impact your family and your community's possible outcomes. And then from there, it hopefully will have a bit of a domino effect. Because we are still realizing that, the prevalence rates of complex neurodevelopmental disorders, some of which are directly related to alcohol consumption and other substance use during and prior to pregnancy. So the research is phenomenal during this year's conference, and we'll highlight a little bit more of it on my website. But it's really impactful. We have known now for a while that there is no safe amount, no safe time, no safe type of alcohol to consume. But the research is saying that people are still confused about that and have the understanding that beer and wine are safer than hard liquor, for example. And that's just simply not the case. So we encourage everyone to look up what is a standard drink and the equivalency there, so that we can clear up some of those misconceptions, because a drink is a drink. We just need to figure out the ratio. So, for example, hard liquor is no less dangerous, but a standard drink is 1.5 ounces compared to a regular size beer. So, and a 5-ounce glass of wine, due to the inconsistent nature of alcohol, and how much of it is in each of those drinks. So a drink that has 7% alcohol, but that's the same size as a drink that has 4% alcohol, is going to hit you differently, and it's going to impact all of you differently, including the pregnancy. But we're also learning with more clarity now that both parents have a role to play in terms of the health of the baby. And we're talking now about higher risk of alcohol seeking behavior in the offspring of parents who both consume alcohol. And prior to the pregnancy makes a difference, that alcohol does interfere with DNA and, our genetics in a way that we didn't know enough about. So this research is both alarming, but also kind of, I don't know what I want. I don't want to say that it's hopeful, but it is, in the sense that it takes all the pressure away from just the moms, that dads matter, and dad's health matters, and dad's drinking habits matter. We used to focus on that simply because women are less likely to drink during their pregnancy if their partners also abstain. So we knew that was a supportive role, but we didn't know that it was as direct as it is. So fetal alcohol spectrum disorder can still only be diagnosed when we have absolute confirmation that alcohol was consumed during the pregnancy. However, we do know that symptoms similar to what we see in fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, for example, impulsivity, difficulty transferring learning, maybe some inconsistent memory, maybe some what we would consider to be telling lies or telling stories, but instead it's more like confabulation, and suggestibility. So people want to answer a question the way they think the person they're talking to wants it to be answered. There's also social vulnerabilities, a lot more health, physical health concerns and comorbidities, higher risk of diabetes, for example, and autoimmune diseases, early onset of puberty, early onset of arthritis. All of these things we know are related to prenatal alcohol consumption. But also, like I said, we're learning more about dad's role and overall health of the individual. So it's just fascinating. And throughout this conference, we're hearing from a lot of people with living experience, which to me is the most powerful learning that I've ever had, and which is why my book is called A Complicated and Beautiful Brain. And it's, insights from the front line and the family perspective, because this is a whole family condition, and so are all complex neurodevelopmental disorders. And there are, as I mentioned, comorbidities. So we see a lot of autism and FASD. We see some cerebral palsy and alcohol exposures. We see some of these things. And there's going to be a lot of times, and I mean a lot of times, that we're never going to get prenatal substance use or prenatal alcohol use confirmed during the pregnancy. And that's for a variety of different reasons. But we're hearing now that it's important, but in our efforts to build an inclusive society, let's really do that. And let's not push aside or fail to provide services or assessments to people just because we can't get that confirmation. We can do a lot of good by meeting people where they're at and doing more functional assessments, which has been the priority that I've been focusing on lately, and which is why I've developed the social work training that's specific for not just social workers, but for those of us who are offering therapy or case management, or some allied health professionals who do functional assessments. Those can be really, really helpful. So today we focused on a practical approach to neurodevelopmental disorders. I offered that session with Dr. Claire Mitchell and myself. There's a free resource available on the website. We also highlighted some of my new work that's called Not Your Typical Parenting Approach. And I'm pretty proud to say that that book is now just available on Amazon, like literally 2 days ago. So we're pretty excited about that. I haven't really advertised it yet, but I'm excited because the feedback from families, which is the most important to me, is indicating that it is helpful, it's enlightening, there's been some aha moments, and just maybe some simple yet unconventional approaches to parenting, and looking a little bit deeper to what the symptoms actually manifest like, and how we can mitigate the risks associated with the symptoms of the neurodevelopmental condition. So if we focus less on behavior and managing it, and more on the symptoms and understanding them, and doing what we can to mitigate the risks through adjustments with the environment, but then also not focusing solely on the environment and blaming parents and the environment for what we're seeing as puzzling behaviors. So that was an honor once again. It's been an honor, and it just feels so invigorating to be around like-minded people and to be able to share such inspiring messaging. So really, really appreciated hearing from Lisa Lawley, who is a mother of a number of children. I think she's got 6 children, and she spoke very openly and very compassionately about some of the differences that biological parents, or life givers, as she says, experience when they learn after many, many years that their alcohol use prior to the confirmation of pregnancy has resulted in children with an FASD diagnosis, or with a complex mental health and learning difficulties that are not quite fully diagnosed or understood. But she talked about the stigma. She talked about families being designated as high risk, even though they stopped drinking after they found out that they were pregnant, and they had a number of children, but by no means was their family circumstances high risk at all, but there are assumptions and negative biases associated. I loved what she said around really highlighting the strengths and focusing on what everybody needs to shine. Everybody needs to feel like they have a sense of purpose and belonging and that they're doing well at something. So she really tried to help ground us in that understanding, and that mental health is more important than academics, and that children and adults will learn when they are able to learn, provided that the atmosphere is safe and that relationships are strong and that they are accepted for who they are. So I've been trying to share this message many, many times, and I attend school meetings, and sometimes I don't make friends with the teachers when I say academic performance is not the goal. The goal is to create a safe place where the children and the youth and the young adults want to come. So for whatever reason, that needs, clearly, the reason is to make sure that people feel good and safe, and that's what the school environment can provide. Now, that does put some extra pressure on the teachers and the support staff and that kind of thing. But, we often say complex neurodevelopmental disorders cannot be supported by one or two people, or certainly not in silos. We have to work collectively and collaboratively, with the individual being the centerpiece. So we need to make sure that they are part of the process of assessment, understanding, and that diagnostic clarity, and also understanding what kinds of supports that they need in order to reach their potential. So I think that, we just have had so many really powerful conversations. And again, I'm honored to be a part of this one. I was honored to be a part of a day-long training that we offered at One Kids Place in partnership with a number of agencies in North Bay, Ontario. Just came back from Port Elgin, where we spent another full day educating service providers and caregivers around some of these issues and some of the not your typical parenting strategies that are being found to be quite helpful. So yes, and then now I think it's November the 5th, I'm heading to Brantford to provide an all-day training there as well. So I'm just really in awe and quite honored and again invigorated by the energy and the opportunity to share what I've learned over the last 25 to 30 years in this field. I just wanted to share my excitement, wanted to share that I'm wearing my red shoes in the spirit of Red Shoes Rock, and in my ongoing mission to, focus on safety and dignity for the people that walk into my office or through my computer screen through Zoom sessions or virtual sessions, and also to continue to work towards reducing both the impact of and the incidences of prenatal alcohol and substance exposures, because with the right information, and clearly we're still not getting it and giving it because a number of people are still consuming and have a lot of misunderstandings around what's safe and what's not. So we still have a lot of work to do, but we need to have those clear, concise, and compassionate conversations so that people can make informed decisions. So just once again, thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope that you continue to do what you can to learn more about this, particularly this misdiagnosed and pretty complicated condition called fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, but so many others as well. So let's just all work together for a more inclusive society, and so glad that you were able to tune in today. Feel free to check back into the website to see some more details around the new book that I have available called Not Your Typical Parenting Guide. There's also a free booklet that we highlighted today, which is called A Practical Approach to Neurodevelopmental Conditions, and that's available free to download from the site as well, along with other things like safety plans and other tips for caregivers and for families and friends and that kind of thing. So we hope that you find that helpful. With many thanks, Angela.